Alright guys, I got one of the greatest things to ever come across this great universe. This is the Duncan Freehand one. This is the original one, and I modded it, but this was like the first run. And I had two of these. I had a blue one and a red one. The blue one, from doing 5A with it, it actually like shattered into like 1,000,000 pieces. So if you ever get your hands on one of these, I recommend only doing 1A with them or doing 5A, like only carpet and stuff, because they are a little brittle. It's not like a polycarbonate. This was like one of the first. This was like the first really good yo-yo to ever come out. So I think they didn't really know how to make it like not so it didn't break. But it can take a beating for a while, but it will start to spider crack, and then eventually it'll just explode, like mine did. But here it is. It's just it's just like a Freehand Zero. They kept over the years. They kept all the shape and everything pretty similar to this. Back then they didn't have like the recess at all, so I cut a recess to put a diff pad on this side, and then this side I cut for an O-ring. This also has a gold bearing in it. It came stock with just your regular Duncan bearing, Duncan Type A bearing. This was back before large bearings even were around. This was like old school. Before
Yo-Yo Jam.
The only yo-yo before this that was any good at all was the Renegade.
And, Super Yo?
Yeah, Super Yo Renegade was pretty decent, and so was the Great White Shark. But once this came out, nobody even cared about the Great White Shark anymore. The Great White Shark had like, they stacked to like 2 Raider type bearings, those really small ones. Yeah. But yeah, this thing is just like, out of my whole collection, it's probably the most nostalgic thing I own. This is probably the yo-yo that got me into. If this yo-yo wouldn't have came out when it did, I wouldn't have got into yo-yoing, because I pretty much got into yo-yoing right when this came out. And if I wouldn't have had a good yo-yo like that, I probably wouldn't have stuck with it, and just wouldn't have stayed with it all the years. So this one will always have a piece of my heart where, yeah, I'm not gonna ever get rid of this. Most people that have these, if they play with it, you can't read anything on these caps. I put clear nail polish over it to protect it, because I knew that happens, because it happened to my blue one. But let me just string it up and just demonstrate how a 20-year-old yo-yo can play it.
Yeah.
Okay, still feels exactly the same in my hand as it always has. But yeah, this one is nice and unresponsive, even though it's got that little bearing in it. So it's also very smooth. And I think this is smoother than any plastic yo-yo Duncan's put out recently. Look at this. Look at that. It's 20 years old.
Oh yeah, look at that.
I swear, I bought a Duncan a year ago that vibed more than that. You know, so
yeah.
So that in itself, you know, it's pretty cool. I mean, with the Type A bearing, you're not going to get the longest spin time in the world, just because how much it's going to be rubbing against it. But the fact that this year is 20 years old and I can still do like whip tricks on it, and you know, majority of my combos I can still do on it just fine. But the real reason I love this yo-yo so much is just the sentimental value it has, just from how old it is and everything, and
what it's responsible for.
Not just, you know, this was obviously it's called the Freehand because this was the yo-yo, the first yo-yo to ever come with a counterweight. That Steve Brown when he first showed Freehand to everybody, that was, you know, the yo-yo was done on. The whole yo-yo is based off that. I should do some 5A on it, but I'm not gonna, just because it's all hardwood here and I don't want to drop it, and you know, I like the yo-yo too much to risk dropping it right now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the plastic is like, I don't even know what type of plastic. It doesn't feel that great on grinds and stuff, but you can still do them. Like I said before, the spin time is nothing great, but...
Isn't this the yo-yo they used like exclusively in the How to Be a Player video?
This and the Avenger. They used like modded Avengers.
Okay.
Which is really crazy, because the Avenger was like so small.
Yeah.
And they were doing like all sorts of, they were doing like popping fresh on them. And all sorts of cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, this yo-yo, it's just a cool, neat part of history that, you know, that I'm glad I have. So, I mean, if I didn't have this thing, or if I ever lost it, I would feel like my girlfriend broke up with me.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe you can find these on eBay. If you do, they're usually around 100, a little over 100 usually. So if you find one on eBay and it's up there, don't feel like you're getting ripped off. That's probably what you should be paying for it anyways.
Yeah.
So, Duncan Freehand, guys, 20 years too late to review, but we don't care. See you later, guys.